I've saved about $10,000 every year living in a tiny house. I've been living tiny for about 4 years. Hi, my name's Melissa. We're in San Diego, California, and this is my tiny house. Her name is the Salty Chalet. Come on in and take a tour. We just walked into the tiny house and now we're in the living room. When I was looking into buying tiny homes, I wanted there to be a really tall ceiling in that area. I like how open it feels here because when you are hanging out on the couch reading or whatever, it feels like a big house because it's very open. Since this is somewhat narrower, I think if it was lower here, it would feel so closed in. The layout of the living room is nice because there's a lot of floor space right here. So I actually work out here if it's ever raining and I can't work out outside. I also like that when I open this door and it's midday, the sun comes in right here, which is nice. I just like the natural lighting. I like that there's enough space for a bigger couch. The last time I rented was a little studio apartment. Granted, that place I had was furnished, so I kind of got to start fresh with all the stuff in here. I didn't have to get rid of too much furniture, but I like the furniture that I got in here better because it's better quality. When you don't have to buy as much furniture because it's a smaller space, you can buy more expensive maybe, but better quality stuff. That being said, this couch was $80 used and they didn't use it a lot, so I'm just saying it's a good quality. My friends visit a lot and I end up sleeping here on the couch and I usually give them my bed. And I'm lucky enough to also have my camper van, so I could sleep in that if I want to. I've also put a air mattress on the ground right here. So realistically, I could have 1, 2, 3, 4 people sleeping here if I really wanted, but that would be a lot. This is a lot of storage in here. There's also solar capable batteries and converters and stuff in there. I have full solar on the roof. My heater is over here and my vision board is on top of it because it's not typically super cold anymore. So I put my vision board. We have an electrical box here for utility stuff. Tons of natural lighting, which I love. I do feel very at peace in this space for sure, especially now that it has a little bit of a bright refresh in the colors. It's very cozy and it's easy to breathe. So I love that. Now we're back in the kitchen. I do feel like the kitchen is adequate for my kitchen needs and my cooking style. I cook pretty simply, so I don't need too many cooking gadgets. I used to have like a dehydrator and a juicer and a crock pot, but ultimately I found I wasn't really using them as much here, so I got rid of them. I have a oven, which is really nice. Propane stove, which is where it's at. Okay, we're never going back to electric. Full farmhouse sink, which is nice. That was repurposed as well. So a lot of the stuff in here you'll see is like antiques or was bought at a secondhand store. So we're giving it a new life, which I love. My washer's right there and my fridge. I would say between a mini and a regular sized fridge. It's perfect size for one person, 1 or 2 people. I don't like to waste food, so I typically don't buy any more than I need or that I would use in a week. So I buy my week's worth of food and I have plenty of storage for it and it doesn't go bad. So I don't really shop any differently living in a tiny home. I have so much storage in these cabinets. I just recently painted these green, which I love. And then just tons of storage under here. That's where I put my pots and pans and my soap making stuff because I own a soap company and I kind of pull out all the materials to make the soap and I use this countertop and where I work. So I work remote. I help people with disabilities get jobs and I also have a couple clients in person, but when I'm working remote, I work right here. There's a nice backdrop. I have Wi-Fi, so it's a really peaceful place to work when you're working from home too. Overall, my kitchen feels perfect for what I need. I love coming down here and making coffee and tea. I like the exposed storage here for these shelves. I like being able to see the stuff that's out and use it almost every day. Yeah, it feels very, very efficient, this kitchen. I don't think I would change anything about it, honestly. I originally bought this tiny house because I was living in Arizona and the housing prices actually went double. So my rent doubled in a year. I was like, this is not sustainable. I work in social work. It was just not gonna work. I started researching all these options. I had 25 different options of things I could do that were super creative, and I just landed on this. I typed in Facebook Marketplace, tiny house. I saw this one and it was probably 50% of the way done. I was like, sold. That's the one. That's what I'm gonna do. I bought this before I even had a spot to put it. The cost of my tiny house was $69,000. I think that price was probably a little bit higher than I wanted to spend, but I just love the house so much. Finding a spot for the tiny house is probably the hardest part of having it. I always just default to Facebook. There's so many Facebook groups that are tiny house specific or your area specific. What I did is I joined groups of where I wanted to put the tiny house, kind of put feelers out there and said, hey, I have a tiny house. Does anybody have land and hookups where I can put it? I'll pay. So that's how I found the first one. And then the second spot that I'm at now, I found on a tiny house Facebook group, kind of the same thing. I said, does anybody have a place near the coast that I could put the tiny house? And then somebody responded and showed me this spot, and here I am. The cost comparison where I was in Arizona, probably rent for a 1-bedroom apartment would be $1,500 to $2,000, and I was spending $500 for my lot rent for 3 years. So I saved a ton of money doing that. Here in San Diego, I would say the rent here is like $2,500 for a 1-bedroom, and I pay $1,000 for the land rent. Definitely a big difference when you think of it like that. Once you own the tiny home, you're spending so much less of this kind of disposable money that you're never gonna see back when you're paying it in rent. So yeah, definitely a lot cheaper in that regard. Now we're in the back end of the house in the bathroom. This is actually a little cutout from the back of the house, which is nice. It gives that extra storage without adding too much onto the square foot, which is, I think, a huge perk. This counter space is lovely. Tons of storage underneath. We have a toilet, a regular flush toilet, a shower in a little pig trough, which I think is cool. And yeah, just tons of reclaimed wood. And there's a stained glass window here, which I love looking over at. It's so pretty just to have cute little features like that bring you joy. I just repainted it in here too, so it kind of has like a fresh feeling of just a decent sized bathroom, honestly. One sacrifice that I actually may have made in this bathroom is a full-length mirror. So I don't have a full-length mirror in my house, but it's fine, honestly. I don't really dress to impress. Sometimes I see a full-length mirror and I'm like, ooh, girl, okay. Because I don't have one. And then I see myself in one and I'm like, okay, she still got it. And your outfit's cute. Don't worry about it. There's nothing I would really change about the bathroom now. It suits all of my needs and there's plenty of storage and counter space, which I love. Now we're up in the loft. It's very cozy up here. I also recently redid this area too. For the bed, I used to have a full-size mattress and it was facing the other way and it was shunked up against that wall. But I upgraded to a queen-size mattress and it fits perfectly in here. I think you could also probably fit a king if you really wanted. There's plenty of space up here and I got headboard for it now, so it just feels really cozy. Even though it's on the ground, it's so comfortable. And yeah, I love it. I have tons of storage over here, a full-size dresser on the short end of the roof because the roof is at an angle. Little nightstand that fits perfectly. I would say the storage for clothing up here is enough for me. This one dresser fits almost all of my pants and shirts. Then I just went to the thrift store and bought rustic reclaimed boxes that I put some clothes in. When I first moved into this tiny house, I really did not have a lot of stuff. So I actually had to upsize. So I had to go out and buy the furniture and buy more clothes to fit in the space. That being said, my relationship to possessions is already pretty disconnected. I don't feel too attached. I mean, sure, there are some crystals and some family heirlooms in this house that are really, really special to me and I hope to have forever. But that being said, nothing is forever. Everything's temporary. Everything's ever changing. So I kind of have that mindset where if you aren't using something and it's not bringing you joy, get rid of it and you usually never think about it again. This is my little meditation station. I wake up and do meditation here every morning and look out at the palm trees, which is nice. And the sun's coming up. I put these curtains in. It's super cozy. And by the time you come up here, you know, you're going to bed. So it's not like you need to be standing up. I do go over here. I can actually read in this little nook. So it's a second little area for a living room almost. Overall, my bedroom is very cozy to me. It's a very special, super zen place. So I do love this bedroom area. I think tiny homes are a realistic solution for affordable housing because I've been doing it. I do it all the time. I think it would be so cool if there were more tiny house communities. That way everybody's using minimal resources. We're not using beyond our means, whether that's electricity, you know, cooling the place, heating the place. When you have these big houses, I think you spend majority of your time in a couple of the rooms. Why not just spend majority of your time in the whole house and use a little bit less resources while you're doing it? Now, I think finding the land to get a tiny house community started is probably a little bit difficult, but once you have the land, you could just build it and they'll come. You just need those hookups. I think that would be such a good option for affordable housing. They've done it in a lot of places, but not enough. There's so much more possibilities for it, I think. If I had to pick one word to sum up tiny living, it would be simple. And that is just because everything in here, I can see, I can clean easily. Nothing's complicated or complex. It's just everything you need in one small space. So it is very, very simple and everything's simplified. And I love that. I love that.